So my mom was a drug addict, and I wanted to make this video to share my story and to connect to anybody else out there who is either currently living in a situation where their parents are addicted to drugs, and maybe your parent is in rehab right now, or you're in a really bad scenario where, you know, your parent is gone during, a period of days or even a week out on a bender or whatever using drugs and isn't coming back home. And then this video is also for other people who have been through that situation. You have grown up and maybe you're not doing too well right now, or maybe you are doing well. Whoever it is, the people who share this same story, people who are born in households with drug addict parents, more specifically in a single parent household. So for me specifically, my mother, she was addicted to drugs. My father, he passed away when I was about 2 years old. Now, some people out there, their fathers left, or their fathers also passed away, or maybe it's their father that is abusing alcohol or whatever it may be. But I'm hoping that this video can help. I'm hoping that I could share some of the things that got me through that time when I was younger, because I know it could be really scary and it could be really lonely. There's even somewhat of a bit of shame, and you're kind of embarrassed that you're going through this, which if you are watching this right now and your parents are battling substances and you are embarrassed, I know there's nothing I could do to change that. You're still going to feel that. That's how I felt when I was younger. But I mean, if it can, there's so many people are dealing with this. In fact, those kids or peers, anybody that may seem like their life is all put together, sometimes their parents are just better at hiding it. And I think this is where a big problem, this is something that people don't really talk about, which is, the difference between one parent and another parent is one parent is hiding it and one parent doesn't have the capacity to hide it, or they just don't have the money to really create a facade. So either way, I just, really quickly, I really hope that if you are somebody that's going through this, I hope you don't feel embarrassed by it, or at least I hope you being able to see me, somebody who's been through this, I hope you can understand that, there's a lot to learn through this experience, and that it has nothing to do with you. You didn't choose to come into this world. You didn't choose that parent, at least as far as I'm concerned. You didn't choose who was going to be your parents. You were literally forced into this world because of their own decisions, and it has nothing to do with you. So, but aside from that, with the other people that have some sort of experience, maybe you are the parent that maybe you're in rehab right now, or you're a parent that had battled drug addiction and you're sort of going through a redemption arc right now where you're righting the wrongs of your past and trying to really rekindle the relationships and stuff. Again, I think this would be a really awesome place, an awesome video, and the place in the comments section. It'd be a good place for people to come together and really support each other. But first, I think, I'll start with how, I guess, it's a really tough topic, and it's not easy for anybody involved. I think one thing that I want to start off with is that when you start to become older, probably even when you first start turning 18, especially for people that are of lower income and single parent households, and where the parent is addicted to drugs, you're probably more likely going to experience the grittiness of life a lot quicker than most other people. So I think you should be able to understand this really quickly, which is that life is very, very tough. And a lot of people are struggling. Even people who don't, like what I just said a minute ago, even people who look like they aren't struggling, they are struggling. And sometimes people just need to find a way to, obviously drugs are used to get an escape, but sometimes, they've just had enough, and it's really the only thing that can keep them going. So that's something that is easy to understand, where we could start to sort of have forgiveness. Now, obviously, it is wrong for parents and people to have kids when they can't provide for them. But sometimes life happens. So for example, like in my circumstance, my dad was studying law and he was a hard worker. He was able to take care of my mom. Now she had my sister before she was with my dad. So she already had a kid. So my father was able to take care of her and my sister, and things were fine. So they had a kid because they could, they were set up financially and everything. But unfortunately, he passed away, and that's a tragedy. And so that tragedy is what sort of created the domino effect of my mom not doing well financially. And then because the main financial provider was gone, then she went into a deep depression. That deep depression caused her from not being able to do anything. And the only thing that could get her to do something was the use of this substance. And this substance was an upper. It kind of helped you focus, if you will. Now, a lot of people take a similar substance when they have ADHD. So you can kind of infer what substance I'm talking about here. But most people, a lot of people, they are just trying to make it through this life. And the thing that we can understand is that no matter how much you love somebody, like your parents love you, the people that are abusing drugs that are around you, they do love you, they do care about you. But there's something so hard about this world. This world can become such a really bleak place that no matter how much you love somebody, it just doesn't matter. You're worn out, your body's worn out, your mind is worn out, your spirit is worn out. And the only thing that you could do, in fact, a lot of people will resort to using these substances just so that they can take care of the people that they love. So, there's this influencer that he's a pretty popular fitness influencer, and his father, took his life, and this affected him. Obviously, it affected him for a very long time. It still affects him to this day, probably. But I remember watching a video where he was talking to his brother and they were talking about how their dad really loved them and everything, but there was nothing he could do. He was too far gone. Life was tough, and I don't know. I guess I mean I don't understand that personally. I do understand that this life is hard. I haven't experienced anything that caused me to sort of be enabled to get up and do stuff and everything, which I'm really fortunate. And I think a lot of that has to do with my experience of having a parent who was addicted to drugs. But, I feel like I'm kind of rambling on right now, and, maybe you're getting bored and maybe you're looking for something to really help. Maybe you're in a really bad situation right now. And I think one of the biggest things to note is that especially when you're younger, there's a surprisingly large amount of people that do want to help you. And you never know who has an open heart, a big heart that is willing to help. And the only way to know is to talk about it. So personally, from my experience, when I was in high school, my mom had to go into rehab. She was doing very badly. And she had to go to rehab. I think it was actually a court order. So she had to go to rehab or she would lose me and my brother. My sister was I think she was approaching 18, but she was staying with my auntie in Wyoming. So she wasn't part of the equation. She was about to turn 18, so she was about to be an adult. So me and my brother, they were saying they were going to take us into foster care and everything. Or something else. I don't remember what it was. They were going to force take us, and then she wouldn't be able to get us again. So if she ever wanted to have us in her life again, she would have to go to rehab, because we did end up going into foster care. And I remember I had a friend. I was in a band. We played music together. He was the drummer that he would play drums for the band that we created and stuff. And I remember just hanging out, and I was just talking. I think I was just talking to my friend, and we were just talking. And I was like, I think I was saying something along the lines of, "Oh, hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to practice or play in a few weeks because I'm going to be going into a receiving home, and my she's going to rehab and everything." And I wasn't like, no sob story. I didn't have this intention that, his parents would help me. I didn't conceive of that. I didn't even think that, anybody would help or could help. And I just remember the next day, or I don't remember if it was the next day, but the following days, his mom reached out to me and she said, "Hey, I heard what you were saying to my friend. We could just, I'm not going to say his name, but she said she heard what I was saying to him, and she wanted to know if there was anything that she could do to help. That if I needed a place to stay, I could stay with them, because she doesn't want me to have to go into a receiving home out of like the city district, so that I go to a different school and everything. And apparently, in the future, she told me it was because that she thought that I was a really good influence on my friend, and we were doing something constructive after school. We were making music and everything, and she said that ever since we became friends, he seemed like he was like just doing a lot better, and she just really appreciated that, and she didn't want to see that relationship be destroyed because of this situation. If I went into the receiving home and I had to go to a different school, it would have ended our relationship, because that's just how it works. Proximity is really important to maintaining relationships. And so she offered, and she talked to the people in the state or whatever, and they said yes. So I was able to stay with him, and I ended up moving into his bedroom. And it was almost like a dream come true, aside from the horribleness of, obviously not being with your mother, losing your brother, and then your mom being addicted to drugs and everything. All of that's horrible. But the other side of it, just, living with your friend, somebody that you like your best friend at the time, it's pretty freaking awesome. It's like you're having a sleepover every night. And we got along well that entire time. But the point of that is that when you are open and you could talk about certain things, there may be people out there that judge. That's true. But screw them. They're stupid. They have no idea. They're so immature, and they're so unaware of the realities. And, not really screw them. I mean, they're just naive, and they're young. They're immature, and they are, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, they're not going to experience any of the grittiness of life until later. And it's going to hit them in the face. And, I'm not wishing bad on them. I wish the best for everybody. I wish the best for them, including them. I wish the best for them. But you need to, you can understand that, okay, this person obviously doesn't get it. They are very fortunate to not have to experience this. And, I understand, and it won't affect me too much. And maybe there's opportunities where you could teach people and whatnot. But either way, aside from those people that are just going to judge, there are a lot of people that want to help. And that's something that I experienced when I was younger through my friends' parents. And then, fortunately, there were other people that were also wanting to help. So a little bit in the future, when I went to community college and then I transferred to a university, the university had a program for foster youth, or for people that aged out of the foster care system. And there were a bunch of really successful career people. So my mentor, the person in that program, she was a corporate lawyer. So there was like corporate lawyers, there were lawyers, business owners, all kinds of people that wanted to be a mentor to kids that were in foster care, or in all these different scenarios that put kids at disadvantages and stuff. And she was a really awesome lady. We still talk to this day. She would invite me over to Thanksgiving. She introduced me to her son. So she wanted to be a part of this program because her son was adopted. So he was in foster care, and she adopted him. And so I guess her heart just felt like she wanted to help more kids that were in foster care or couldn't be with their parents. And so that's why she got into it. And there was plenty of other people that had similar reasons. And it was really awesome because he ended up doing really well in university. He was a software engineer, and he was working in Uber. And she just invited me to a lot of events where I got to meet people I otherwise wouldn't have met, that were in different echelons of society and stuff. People who were working with the Obama administration, and congressmen in California and stuff. So it was really cool. And she was just somebody out of the kindness of her own heart that decided she wanted to help and reach out to one of these programs. And so all I'm trying to say is that there are people out there to help. If you could find it inside yourself to really just know that your story is powerful. And this is actually something that could kind of lead into what I'm really trying to focus on with my time here on the internet and on social media, because this isn't my main account. This is like an account that I do just raw talking videos like this, zero editing. I'm just trying to get what I have in my mind out and stuff, and hopefully connect with people and help with some of my experiences. I have a main channel that is more higher production and stuff, but my goal with all of the channels, the underlying theme is pretty much becoming a leader. You know, I really believe we need more leaders. I believe that leaders are people who do things first. You know, they don't try to reap the rewards of other people's work and effort and then take all the glory. That seems like what most people are trying to do. You know, when most people think of being a leader, they think of being the ones who eat first and get all the glory from other people's work. And I think that's dumb. You know, true leaders are the ones who go in first. You know, like when you think of like those old war movies, or like where people on horses and stuff with swords, like the king, the leader led first, you know, like they charged first, like I'm going to die first for all the men, and then the men follow. And that's the way I really believe a leader should be, is somebody who leads, who goes first and, you know, shares the reward with everybody and is willing to accept all of the risk. And I believe we need more of that. And that's what I want to do with the time that I'm here on social media. And then also, I want to do that by helping people realize that they have a story, and also by sharing my story. It's surprising how a lot of people think that there's this dialogue, the mental dialogue, where they say to themselves that they're nobody, you know, especially somebody that was born and raised by a single parent or parents addicted to drugs. You can tell yourself that you're worthless, you're less than others. Maybe, you know, you feel like you're inferior to other people who lived, quote, normal lives or had normal families and everything. And that dialogue is stupid. It's ridiculous. It couldn't be further from the truth. Literally, this story of growing up with parents who were battling drug addiction, all the trials and tribulations that come from that, that is a powerful freaking story. It takes so much courage. It takes so much internal strength to get through that. And then once you get through that, dude, like the amount of maturity, the emotional maturity, the amount that you could gain, the first-hand experience from that beats anything you could learn from a book. Like, you can't replicate that. You know, these are real life experiences. Now, granted, you can have these traumas that are embedded in your subconscious that could really affect your life. But if you really dive deep and understand what happened, understand the pain that your parents had, because they're just humans too, like all of us. None of us chose to be here. We were all just forced by two people who wanted to have a child, and that we're all just trying to make the best of this tough world. This world can be really tough, and that the path is windy. It's up and down and everything. And so I think that when you can understand that, and you can understand that if the circumstances were right, you could find yourself in a very similar situation. And that's where I believe forgiveness comes from, is understanding how the correct circumstances can lead you to make the same decisions somebody else that you would judge and consider evil, like how you can make those decisions if you were in the right circumstances. And then therefore you can understand and forgive. Now, you don't need to forget, and you don't need to accept that, you know, you don't need to accept bad behavior or anything, but like, you could understand it. And so there's so much character building behind this story that we have lived. And I believe that that can really propel you in life when it comes to building a career. If you want to be a creator on social media or whatever it is. And I believe that the story is the thing that's going to give you a competitive advantage. And leveraging that story to become a great leader. So that's what I'm trying to do here on social media. And so this is where, back to the topic of this video, and being raised by parents who are battling drug addiction comes into play. So I think I'm kind of dragging on. I don't know how long this video is. There's so much to talk about on this topic, and I think I'll make multiple videos on this topic. So I'll consider this an introduction to this topic in particular. I don't want to bore you guys. I'm sure this is very boring so far, unless you really connect with this. But I think one other thing that, you know, I really want to do something for people who are currently battling this issue. I think that are going through this and may need a helping hand. I think the only thing is that, you know, I think the biggest thing that could help is just increasing your hope, because aside from like all of like the things that you need to be alive and everything, from like, you know, resources and all that stuff, there are programs and there are people that want to help. You do just have to search for that. And then, like I said, you have to be open about your experience. There are other adults and families out there who do want to help. But other than that, I think the biggest thing that could help is understanding that there's a lot of people that have been through this similar scenario and they have done amazing things. I can't think of popular influencers or people on social media on the top of my head, but I've known people, adults that have been through this and have built amazing careers and have had a huge impact in life. And so if you're watching this video right now, depending on which side of the situation you're on, if you have any comments of encouragement or whatever things that, you know, you've learned from this experience, I really appreciate the comments. That'd be awesome and amazing. I think I'm just going to end this video here so far. If you'd like to see more videos on this or dive further in this topic, you could comment this. If you are interested in this type of content, talking about life, philosophy, like motivational type of content, just things to make ourselves better, you know, conversations that, again, just can help build leaders and teach us how to share our stories and use our stories and everything. If you're interested in that kind of stuff in like a raw format, then consider subscribing. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a like. It really helps in the algorithm. And I really hope you have a good day or night whenever you're seeing this. All right, take care.